everyone and welcome to Entry Level 3 English, week 5. I hope you're well, I hope you've had a good week. Thank you for the work you've already sent me. So this week we will be doing your spellings as usual, looking at spellings. We're going to have a quick review of the present continuous and future simple for future use. And then we're going to look at past simple, and today we're looking at regular verbs and in particular pronunciation of that ed ending. And the rules around that. So we're going to have a look at those things today. So yeah, welcome to week 5. Let's start with your spelling, shall we? So, number one, rough. The texture of the rug was rough. Rough. How do you spell rough? Number 2, tough. It was a tough day at the office. Tough. How do you spell tough? My cat has just come in. Number 3, cough. She had a terrible cough. How do you spell cough? Number 4, enough. I've had enough of today. Enough. How do you spell enough? Number 5, different. Her hair was, no, I can't think of anything. Different. She wore different clothes every day. Different. How do you spell different? I don't know why I can't think of anything. Number 6, difficult. It is very difficult for me to think of sentences quite clearly. Difficult. How do you spell difficult? Okay, so there's your 6 spellings for today. If you need to listen again, go back and listen again. Otherwise, I'll get them up on the board. Okay, so we are. Have a look. How did you do? What did you get out of 6? So we've got rough, R-O-U-G-H, tough, T-O-U-G-H, cough, C-O-U-G-H, enough, E-N-O-U-G-H, different, D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, and difficult, D-I-F-F-I-C-U-L-T. Tricky words there. So yeah, rough, tough, cough, enough, different and difficult. Okay, so how did you do? How many did you get out of 6? I'm going to put next week's words up for you now. Okay, so we've only got 5 words this week. That's because they're really difficult ones. These are tricky words starting with T. So these words are really tricky to spell and their pronunciation is tricky. So yeah, they're ones that we should be looking at. So number 1, therefore. Therefore. So we've got there and for, F-O-R-E, not for as in F-O-U-R, or F-O-R, it's got an E on the end, therefore. I am hungry, therefore I will have a sandwich. Okay? So therefore means as a result of, so in result of. So I am hungry, therefore I will have a sandwich. Now this word here is really tricky, thorough, thorough, thorough. So T-H-O-R-O-U-G-H, thorough. If you do something thoroughly, it means you do it very carefully and with real sort of like 100%. So like, for example, I gave the car a thorough clean. It means like a really good clean, a really kind of like, I got in everywhere, I cleaned every bit of it and it's perfect now. Yeah, I gave the house a thorough clean. It means that it was a really good clean, a really intense clean. So thorough is a really tricky word to say and spell. Though, T-H-O-U-G-H, though. I like chocolate even though it is bad for me. I like chocolate even though it is bad for me. thumb. Thumb. Really tricky to spell. Thumb. T-H-U-M-B. It's got a silent B on the end. Thumb. Thumb. Treasure. I found some treasure in my garden. At the bottom of my garden. Treasure. There is treasure at the end of a rainbow. Treasure. T-R-E-A-S-U-R-E. Treasure. Okay? Really difficult, these words to spell. So learn these words. You can put them in alphabetical order for me and make some sentences too with those. So make some sentences and put them in alphabetical order as well to practice your ordering. Okay, so those are for next week. Good luck with those. Okay, so just a quick recap of what we looked at last week, which was the present continuous versus the future simple for future use. So the present continuous we use for plans or events. So things that are planned or decided already and events that are already planned. Future simple we use for our hopes, our wishes, our dreams, our beliefs. Sudden decisions, things we've suddenly decided. So, for example, if we use the expression I think, this is a belief. It's not definite, it's a belief, isn't it? I think, it's something we believe. Then we would be using the future simple. So for example, I think I'll drive to work tomorrow. Do you want a lift? Okay, so it's a belief that I've just kind of thought, I think I'll drive tomorrow. I think I'll drive to work tomorrow. Do you want a lift? Now, if I'd already decided I'm definitely driving to work tomorrow, I would say, I'm driving to work tomorrow. Do you want a lift? Because I've already planned to drive. This is something that it's a belief. I think I'm going to drive to work tomorrow. Like I've just decided, I think that's what I'm going to do. So we're using the future simple. I will, I'll. It's really difficult. Some of you were getting some of those answers wrong when you were doing this, and it's hard to choose which is the right one. But yeah, try and think, has that been planned? So when you're speaking, have I already planned it, or is it a sudden decision? If it's with I think, then because that's a belief, we would use the future simple. I think I'll take the bus. I think it'll snow tomorrow. Okay? So, that's a sudden decision, I think. So when we use I think, it's definitely I will, or he will, or she will, or it will, or you will, or they will, etc. But when it's present continuous, that's a plan or something we've decided or something that's definitely happening. And then we can use I am, he is, she is, you are, they are, we are, plus the verb, plus ing. I'm driving, he's driving, she's driving, they're driving, you're driving. Okay? I'm going to the pub tomorrow. I'm going for a run tomorrow morning. I'm having a party. I'm eating pasta tomorrow. So yeah, don't forget that ing, which was another thing some of you are forgetting, that ing. If there's an e, we take it off, so drive becomes driving without the e. E we take off before we put on the ing. So try and work on that when you're thinking about talking in the future. Try and make sure that you're using those correctly. If it's a plan or event, you can use this present continuous. I'm doing something tomorrow, next week, next year. If it's a hope or a wish or a dream or a belief or a sudden decision, then I will, he will, she will. Okay? I don't know what else to say. I don't know. Yeah, I just want you to think about that, because there was a couple of mistakes in your work, so I just want you to make sure that you've kind of thought that through and sure about the difference between them. It is quite tricky, so just sort of like keep practicing and make sure you can understand that difference, okay? Okay, so we're going to look at the past simple a little bit today. So the past simple tense is used to talk about the past, things that are over, that are finished and completed. They happened yesterday, last week, last year, last month, 2 days ago, this morning. but they're finished and they're over, and we use the past simple. Okay, so there are two important things to remember about the past simple. Some verbs are regular and some verbs are irregular. Okay, and this makes life very complicated for the past simple. So for example, play is a regular verb. And if you're a regular verb, in the past simple, all we do is add ed. So it goes from I play, he plays, she plays, to I played, he played, she played, they played, you played. And it's all the same for he, she, it, you, they. So it's nice and easy. We should have done this before if you've done entry 2 with me. But obviously if you're new to the course, this might be the first time you've come across it. So sorry if it feels a bit quick. But as I say, quite a lot of my learners have already covered this in previous courses. So regular verbs, play becomes played. We add ed for regular verbs. Now some verbs are irregular and we don't add ed to them. So for example, go is an irregular verb and that becomes went. It becomes went. Completely different word. It's an irregular verb, and when we talk about go in the past, we use the word went. So, for example, if we start with this one, yesterday I played football. Okay, yesterday I played football. Ed ending, regular verb. Yesterday, so I add ed to the regular verb, and it is now in the past, okay? Yesterday I went to work. I went to work. So go becomes went because it's an irregular verb and it's in the past, so it becomes went. I went to work, he went to work, she went to work, they went to work. It's the same for everybody, which is the one advantage of the past simple. Doesn't matter if it's I, you, they, he, she. It's the same for all of them. But some of them are regular, some are irregular. It's really annoying. There is no easy way to learn, you just have to learn. So today we're going to look at some of the common regular verbs, and we're going to look at the ed ending because also the pronunciation of that is really tricky for people who are learning English in particular. So it's not a separate sound and it's got 3 different sounds, that ed ending. So we're going to look at that today, okay? Okay, so I've got some common regular verbs up on the board here, just some sort of common ones that we use, I suppose, quite a bit. So yeah, I've chose these. There are a lot more. If you look on the internet, you can Google regular verbs and it'll give you lists and lists of regular verbs, so you can look at all of them. But here's some common ones I just picked out. So we've got watch, play, listen, act, accept, dance, live, cry, plan, wait, walk, want, work, wash and shout. Okay. Now there are several things about ed endings. One is the spelling. When we add ed, sometimes something happens to the end of the word and the pronunciation is the other thing. So we generally add just ed. So watch becomes watched, play becomes played, listen, etc. Ed, okay? And when we talk in the past, we just simply add that ed. So yesterday I watched Batman. Yesterday I played football. Last night I listened to music. My daughter acted in a play last week. Last year I was accepted onto the leadership course. I danced a year ago, maybe a year ago. Been a long time since I've been out dancing. So yeah, we add ed and we just talk about the past, and we can use those expressions like yesterday, last year, last week, and those expressions come at the beginning of the sentence or at the end. So I played football yesterday, or yesterday I played football. Okay, they come at the beginning or the end. All right. When a word ends in e, sorry, I'm just going to find a different colour. When a word ends in e, like dance or live, we don't add ed, we just add d. Okay, so here we add ed ed, 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 ed. But here there's an E on the end of the word, so we just add an E or a D. We don't need to add the ed, okay? When there is a Y on the end, this is complicated, and we've been through this before with IES. We talked about this in the present simple. If it's a vowel and a Y, we just add ed. So if it's a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, and then Y, we just add ed. If it's a consonant and Y, then we remove the I and we add IED. So cry becomes cried. Okay, have I got any more Y? No. So if it's vowel and Y, we add ed. If it's consonant and Y, so B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, okay, consonant and Y, we get rid of the Y and add IED. So that's the spelling rules for our ED endings. If there's already an E, we just add a D. Usually we just add ED, but if it's a consonant and Y, we get rid of the Y and put IED. Okay, so that's the spelling rules. So yesterday I cried watching a movie. Sad times, okay? So, that's the spelling rules. Pronunciation rules are a little different. Let's get rid of, how am I going to do this? One moment, I'm just going to rearrange my board. Okay, this is where it gets a little complicated and really tricky actually for anybody learning English. So if your English is your second language, this is really tricky. It gets, quite tricky this stage of pronunciation. So ED endings, we have 3 different sounds for that ED ending. We have a id sound, id. We have a d sound, duh. And we have a t, t. Like you can feel like almost like spitting, t, t sound. So we've got id, duh, and t. Okay, so all of them are spelt ed. They all ed on the end of the verb, but they have a different sound. And these are the rules. So this is what you need to write down and you just need to practice. There's also lots of videos, YouTube videos, some brilliant YouTube videos talking about ED endings and pronunciation that you can listen to, which I might send you some links because they're really good ones. If the verb ends in a T or a D, so if the verb ends in a T or D, then the ED is pronounced id. So if we, let's get an example. I can't think of anything ending in a D to be honest, but let's get an example. So if it ends in a T, let's have act. Oh, wait, want, and wait. I can't think of any verb ending in D. I'm sure there is one, but I can't think of one. So if the regular verb ends in a T or a D, then the ED ending is pronounced id. So listen carefully. So it's acted, tid, id. Do you hear that id? Acted. Wanted, tid, id. So we pronounce that T at the end and then an id. Acted, wanted, waited. Okay, it's an id ending at the end. We don't say waited, we don't say wanted, which is the big mistake most people say, is id, wanted. So listen to me. Wanted, waited, acted, id, acted. It's got an id ending, okay? So words ending in a T or a D have the id ending. Now, if the verb ends in P, F, S, CH, SH or K, then the ED ending is pronounced like a T, T. So let's again put some examples up for you. Whoopsie daisy. Let's have a look. Something ending in, okay, so, other pen. What else? Have we got anything? Oh, I don't know. Lots of W's. So, if it ends in a P, F, S, CH, SH or a K, then the ED ending is pronounced like a T. A T. So, watched, watched. You should be able to feel your spit on your hand. Watched, watched. You can feel your breath. Washed, washed. And walked, walked, walked. I walked the dog this morning. I walked the dog. It's not walked, watched or washed. No, no, no. Big mistake. So that pronunciation for anything with CH, SH, K, P, F, S is T. It's a T sound. T sound. Okay? All other verbs that are regular, obviously, and have ED endings, all other regular verbs with any other letters on the end are pronounced D. So, for example, so for example, Y, N and E are not in these ones here, so therefore we use a D sound. So, played, D. Can you hear that? D. Played, listened, listened, lived, lived, D, D. You can hear that D there. Listened, lived, and played. Obviously, I mean, I'm exaggerating it at this stage. When we say it naturally, it's played, listened, and lived. But you can hear that D sound. It's a D, not a T. T, you can feel your breath. D, nothing. D, D. No, it's not coming out. Okay? And id. Id. Acted. Accepted. Okay? So I want you to practice those. Like I said, I might send you a couple of videos as well that you can, or a video that you can watch that's quite good for those ED endings. I want you to practice those ED endings. And for your homework, I want you obviously to do your spellings. I'm going to send you some work on past simple as well, regular verbs. I'd like you to be writing a short story about the past, trying to use as many regular verbs as possible, okay? So I'll send that in your homework and then practice that pronunciation for our next chat, all right? Okay, so I'll see you in a week. Take care, guys, and look after yourselves. See you soon. Bye.